Meeting back to order, please. And we are to the item 9, City Attorney's Report. Audrey, what do you have for us today?
Thank you. The first item is one that's been an agenda discussion for several years, and it's part of the zoning discussion. So tonight I have several zoning items. The first one deals with, and I use the brand name, but it would not necessarily be the brand name, the portable on-demand storage, which are also known, I guess, as intermodal transportation systems or temporary shelters. You have the green sheet. It's pretty self-explanatory. I do have Chris Campbell here, and he's here available to either give a presentation or answer questions as to whether or not pods would be helpful, a regulation on pods would be helpful.
Yep. Could you come on up there, Chris, and just get cut right to the chase there. What would you suggest? You suggest a tweak of our regulations to better help you out?
Yes, sir. Our current regulations only allow portable on-demand storage or equipment sheds to be used in conjunction with a building permit.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, the ordinance is silent. It says nothing about any regulations when a permit's not obtained for active construction. There is a need in some circumstances for individuals to empty out their garage or do some spring cleaning. Traditionally, when we see that they become permanent fixtures on the property or we receive complaints, we would advise them that it's time to move on. It needs to be relocated. But when we get calls from residents asking about regulations or the questions posed, what do you do when there's no building permit? We're forced to inform them that there's no regulation specifically allowing them and that they're only permitted in conjunction with a building permit.
So, to give you some relief and the citizens some relief, so, well, you would suggest working with Audrey to
Yes, sir.
get her some language? Council, what do you think? That'd be all right? Martha, you brought this up, right?
I did. Make a motion
Good.
to move forward, give them the tools they need.
Go ahead. There's a motion.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Yes.
And I'm not sure whether I'm going to put this in Land Development Code Chapter 4 or if it's more appropriate to put in the Property Maintenance Code, because that's one that code enforcement uses more. So that's something that we'll have to work on.
I'm sure
And
you'll
there
figure
may be
that out.
Other amendments if he suggests it to the
Sure.
Property Maintenance Code.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Uh,
Chris. Thanks for waiting.
Any other discussion before we have roll call? Roll call, please.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman
Aye.
Slava? Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Lockhart?
Aye.
Okay, what else you got, Audrey?
Okay, the next is another one, which is administrative appeals, and what I believe Ms. Ross was talking about when she said she supported the amendment. We talked about it today at the Government Affairs of the Chamber. Councilman McIntosh was there. And this is one where, and I have the whole section of the Land Development Code, section 4-152, beginning on the second page of the green sheet. The first section, A, is what I drafted based on my understanding of what was there, along with what City Council had done actually before I came on board as city attorney, with how to deal with administrative appeals. There was one case before me that dealt with Pelican Landing and the beach park, and I know that council decided at that time to take jurisdiction, but as we used the county's code, the code had not really changed except for some very sparse things. So it went, when we had one other case, it went to the zoning board. And I would, by the way I read this language, I would not say necessarily, because the hearing examiner, it was final decision-making powers, it looks like it would be final decision-making powers of the zoning board. Nothing wrong with the zoning board, but based on how city council has dealt with zoning resolutions and special exceptions, I believe they would want the same ability to have final jurisdiction. The second part of that is the fact that with this, it might be better from an economic development standpoint to have city council be the only decision-making, because it's how to handle appeals of staff decisions, of what goes before staff, and it's still limited appeal rights, but have it so that it goes to city council, and that way you expedite the matter, because you don't need to have the sworn testimony, the formalities that we would have for special exceptions, resolutions, because it's an ex parte, or it's not ex parte, it's a first tier appeal. So it could go straight to city council based on the record that it has. So, I mean, it doesn't, I mean, that would be my recommendation, to go to city council. Then the other thing is, the time limit, the folks on the beach are correct. There should be a time limit. We don't have one currently, so I'd like to put one in, the 30 days.
Okay, Council, are you okay with Audrey's recommendation of putting in a time limit and allowing it to come back to city council as part of that? Are you all right with that?
Absolutely.
Good, good enough? Do you need further direction, or does that give you enough to work this
It
out?
does. I just want to make one more comment beforehand,
Go
and
ahead.
that is, I'm hoping to get like a round of, similar to what we had just recently, a round of different things that we're amending the land development code. This would be one of the things. There were some things that we were adding to, with Waldrop Engineering, with the social services, but I would suggest that we take those out so that those items are miscellaneous under this ordinance. So we have like several, and one is something we found on the Carlucci Act, which is the gun law, thou shalt be held civilly liable. We found a setback that we messed up on that, because it didn't use the word gun, it used another word, so I didn't find it. So, little things like that as a miscellaneous amendment, just like we did one recently.
Okay,
And then do social services as another standalone amendment.
good, good. Thank you very much. Anything else under that?
Do you want to vote on that, or?
Would you like direction via vote? Let's do that. Is there a motion to instruct?
So moved.
It's a motion, and is there a second?
Second.
Steve, and the motion is to go ahead and have the city attorney and work on this, amending that.
And provide it
Process.
as an expedited to city council?
Yep, to city council. Yep, and time limit as well. There's a motion, and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman
Aye.
Slakta? Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Lockhart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Okay, carry on.
And the final one is referencing use permits in the land development code. This one is almost funny, and that is, we talk about in the building code use permits, it's something that we've always had. It's the sign off before a zoning is approved, so people can get their business license receipt, the occupational, what I call occupational license, tax, I'm older, from the tax collector. They need to get a use permit. Cities like it because we're able to then get into do the inspections so that we can find out if there's been any interior remodeling and such. We have it in the building permit side, and when I look at the correlating section in LDC Chapter 4, it's not in there. I put some recommended language, and that would be a quick and easy amendment, also added to that miscellaneous round of amendments.
Council, what's your pleasure? Go ahead and have Audrey do that.
Yes,
Okay, would you make a motion?
I will do that.
There's a motion to, motion and a second by Bill. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Slakta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Lockhart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Okay, Audrey, do you have anything else for us?
Not at this time, sir.
Thank you very much. Well done. City Manager's Report. We are up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item is going to be handled by Mr. Gucciardo.
Oh, were you not going to make an introduction first?
An introduction? No, not yet.
Oh, okay, sorry. The first item that we have is the resolution to reinstate the library task force. This came out of the discussion after the presentation from the county staff. It'll be the first step in order to get the group back up and running. They have a list of items that they'll be reviewing for you to make recommendations, hopefully in the very near future.
Okay, and just for the public's knowledge, the goals for that would be,
Well,
if you would,
we asked them to, we will ask them to take a look at the county recommendations as far as what that structure can be, if they agree or not with the county's recommendation as far as the proposal to tear down and rebuild on that site. We're also asking them to take a look at the issues regarding the MSTU with the county financing for a library system and whether or not it's appropriate to stay within that or to see if there are options other than staying within the county system. And we're also asking them to take a look at the overall idea of identifying what is appropriate for a new library facility. Obviously, with new technologies, there might be different options. We want to make sure we've got the best approach to building a new facility if we, in fact, do.
okay. All right, good. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I just had a question.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's a motion on the table, and would you like a second?
Second, sure.
Motion second? Go ahead, go right ahead.
I just wanted to ask, am I able to be on this task force or attend the meetings? It's public.
Well, typically in the past, council has appointed a liaison to different volunteer committees. I'm not sure if there was a liaison to the task force last time. Bill may have served in that capacity.
I think you, Bill did, yeah.
You'd like to serve in that role again?
Yes,
Man.
Okay.
to the end.
Yeah, understood, and I'd like to attend the meeting, so if somebody can just ring
Oh,
my bell.
you see, you'll be there with another council.
Oh, okay.
Till success.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, that's what I should have said.
Okay.
That's how
Um,
optimistic I am.
all right.
All right, good. Well, there's a motion and a second for the task force. And Bill, did you have a comment, sir, before we vote?
No, let's move on. Let's get
All
the
right,
task
good,
force
good.
back.
Any other comments before we go ahead and do a roll call? Yes.
I think we'd like to ask the county candidates who are running for election what their position would be on this, don't you think, Mr.
Yeah, I
Longcart?
can probably make those inquiries.
That'd be lovely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Make it
Matter of fact,
known.
Mayor-
I can do that. I'll do it.
Mayor, do we need to restruct our motion to have Councilman Lockhart as the liaison?
Yeah, you can put that in the motion that the Councilman Lockhart will be in the liaison. I think that would be okay. Is that all right? Good.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Okay. What
Just
else
to
you got for us?
Just to follow up on that, we have done an outreach to the former members of the task force. Unfortunately, some are not going to be able to participate this time around. Some have left the area, some have different circumstances now. So we'll be bringing back at the next meeting the official appointments of the ones who can serve, and we'll post the vacancies in the meantime and hopefully get some new applicants.
Okay, good. All right. All right, Carl, what else you got? Oh, it's still John. It's still John.
The next item has to do with appointing 2 members to the vacancies on the Technology Advisory Board. If you remember, in the past, the council ended the term of the Information Technology Committee and reestablished them as the Technology Advisory Board. The 5 members of the former IT committee are now members of the Technology Advisory Board, but there were 2 vacancies. We've got 3 applicants for you to consider for appointment. And there's lots of different ways we can do this. I'll defer to Audrey and to Debbie, the clerk, as to what your options are. But in the past, I think that council has considered choosing between the 3, writing down your preferences, and having the clerk basically tally up the totals and reporting back to you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
before we go to voting,
yes, go right ahead.
just to remind people, the Information Technology Committee has evolved into this technology advisory group, and rightfully so. I've spoken with all 3 of the candidates. Mr. Long, the 3rd candidate in your list, we know him well. He's been with the solar project with us, so I think he makes a logical fit with the Technology Committee. The remaining 2 are both very well qualified. If anyone knows either of the 2, I'd certainly be interested in hearing.
I know the young man, Andrew Meese, and he's a very bright and young man, and very interested. It's really refreshing to see somebody his age to be interested in getting involved with the community, and he's really tech savvy. So that would be what I have to say about him.
We did not write ballots, so we are handing out blank pieces of paper. I need you to write your name on each piece of paper and the 2 that you want, and then we'll tally up the score. But I definitely need you to write your name on it. No secret ballots.
Audrey.
May I
Yes, go right ahead.
in all fairness, I also spoke with the 2nd candidate, Ms. Odell, and she also is qualified in terms of her education experience. And so they're all good candidates, but I'd certainly ask you to vote for anyone you know. Thank you.
While you're proceeding with that, I can tell you that the first meeting of the Technology Advisory Board is set for September the 19th. That's a Wednesday. It's a little different than what we think will be their ongoing schedule, but that seemed to be a convenient time for all the applicants plus the existing members. And we will report back to you after that first meeting.
Oh, gotta put my name on it. Oh, we don't have to fault them.
Excuse me, John. Who will notify the two?
You're not secret.
I will,
You're all
So
public record.
either, well, staff will handle it, but typically the clerk.
And all three will be notified?
typically, the clerk notifies all three as to the results, but I'll be getting in touch with the two successful applicants because we plan on trying to get a packet out for that first meeting as soon as
Yeah,
we
our
can.
clerk is on vacation.
Understood.
Okay.
Okay, and let's see, who's going to, while they're tabulating there, who's going to take care of the special event permit number so-and-so Fall Fest? Is that yours? Yeah. All right, why don't you go ahead and take care of that?
And Laura's here for questions, but I mean, basically the issue is this is an event that has been held for one day at a time. Special Events Committee is asking that we hold a portion of it, the fish fry in particular, on a Friday night, the balance of the event on Saturday between 8 and 2 p.m.
I'll make a motion to amend the special event permit.
No, second.
Motion and a second. Everyone have any questions? Roll call.
Councilman Slakta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Audrey, what do you got?
Well, before we start the next item, just on technology, it's Messrs. Long and Meese. That,
Okay. We need to go ahead and do that by a vote to confirm that.
I'll
yes, please.
It's
Make a
long.
motion
I'll
to
make a
approve.
motion to
Long and
approve.
Meese.
Yeah, I know, but there were two appointments.
They were chicks.
Those were the two.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve Long and Meese as the two new technology committee member, or advisory committee members.
Motion on the floor, second.
Second.
And there's a second. And roll call.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slakta?
Aye.
Okay. What you got for us now there, Carl?
Well, we want to talk just at a high level about the major points with regards to the proposed agreement, development agreement with the Fort Myers, Bonita Fort Myers Corporation. Again, this will be very high level. We're not asking for any decisions from you tonight. This is a process that's evolving. We continue to talk and negotiate with the owners there with Havnix, and we appreciate that relationship, and we look forward to further conversations. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Audrey to chat about the specific issues.
Thank you. And just to start on the conversation, we're doing a development agreement, which council, it's been a while since we've had one. They're very exciting because a development agreement does set up a framework, a statutory framework, and is permitted by statute under the Growth Management Act to provide assurances to the applicant, the developer, or the owner of the property, as well as to the city. And in this case, we're being provided assurances as to an income. Now, all of this is contingent if the referendum passes. The development agreement doesn't go into effect, and we'll figure out something else if it doesn't pass. But hopefully, everything will pass and everything will be good in that regard. It's different than what the county and Bonita Springs racetrack is doing, because in that case, that's more of a revenue, it's farther away. It is a very complex agreement, and there are parts that are still under discussion. I do have the key points. You'll see the bullet with the little doggy on the green sheet. So they are there, but it does stand that there could be some substantial revenue to the city of Bonita Springs. I have a sense of humor.
No, you don't.
A bullet with a
I'm sorry.
dog.
Go ahead. It's a long
And-
night.
And it is a long-term agreement, but remember, the long-term agreement is for, so if they need to go and get financing for their infrastructure, because it is about 100 acres of land. And we're hoping that it will serve as an anchor to the downtown Bonita River Historic District. Maybe not in that order, but as we are now calling the area previously known as, yes, I won't say it.
Audrey, could you just kind of, in a nutshell, why do city councils and from our standpoint, why do we want to enter into developers agreement besides all the other periphery stuff about downtown, just from a legal standpoint, to our advantage? And they haven't. There's a reason why they would want to too.
Sure.
That would be very helpful.
And really, it's a joint mutual decision so that you have an idea what the development is going to be at that site, because that site to you is important. I mean, if that site is the anchor to the gateway to the Gulf, the gateway to the downtown rivered area, and the gateway to providing opportunities for additional entertainment venues. And tonight, I guess we're missing a good concert by Cat Country by being here instead. Or is it Gator Country? Gator Country. Sorry about that.
Don't worry, that was irrelevant too. Go ahead.
But there's a chance of having that assurances. And what also is an assurance is that there is a good assurance of a revenue stream that will also assist the city in whether, and because it's not something that is a targeted fund, we have the ability to utilize that money for a variety of different uses.
Isn't it? It's about protection, though. The city needs to know
Absolutely.
that in exchange for allowing something to happen that increases the intensity there, that we will be reimbursed. The community will be reimbursed in a way, and from the I will say applicant, from the developer standpoint, he needs to have assurances that his best interests are looked after too, that we don't pull the rug out from under him, so to speak, after we get what we want out of it. I mean, that's essentially what it is, right?
Absolutely. And I need to point out something also, and strategically around the state of Florida, there are different places where if the legislature approves and a referendum is approved, so that slot machines can be approved at a site, this site is strategically located compared to other sites that there really is nothing like it nearby, with the exception to the Immokalee, reservation, as far as being in an urban area. So, I mean, there can be a lot of excitement. I know that the owner of the property also owns some property in Miami, which is my hometown, so I'm familiar, Magic Casino. Mm-hmm. And I know that since they started in 2009, has not just been tremendously successful as a venue to go to. Now, in Miami, there's other venues that people can go to for gambling as well as other entertainment. But it also provides, some good revenue for the city of Miami.
All right. So, council, I guess the question that we need to answer as a council is, do we want to go ahead and enter into this developers agreement and go ahead and have Carl and Audrey continue to negotiate?
Do you need a motion for that?
Yes, we do.
I so move.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion just on that? And then we can talk. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor. I just want to add on, but this compensation, proposed compensation to the city, and also to the county, Lee County, really answers the question that Alex Grant was asking earlier. And that is, if there's an anticipated additional cost for service, public service to the area or around the area, how much is that going to be and who's going to pay that? The answer is, if it's the sheriff's office, it will be the county, because the county's going to get 1.5% of these revenues. And they've already signed off on that agreement. And then also additional service demands that we might have with regards to whatever in terms of municipal services, we will be getting this additional revenue as well. So it's a recognition there might be extra demands upon public service.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions or comments before? Yes, Martha.
Yeah, since they've been here for 53 years, I don't know that we'll have some uptick in traffic, of course. I don't know what the schedule of uses is over there, and I asked you about that to enter into a developer's agreement. Basically, what we're doing here today is to say, conceptually, you're going in the right direction, go for it, guys. Carry on, right?
Well, once we get a developer's agreement, it will commit that subject to city council approving a planned development zoning, they will get schedule of uses, and those schedule of uses will include things that have been grandfathered in but are not permitted in other parts of the city because they've been around prior to zoning.
But I think what Martha's saying is that the only instructions you're getting tonight is to go off and to continue to negotiate, and you will bring it back to city council, correct?
That
yes,
was one.
Yes, that's what. Okay.
And it requires two public.
Slow.
The statute requires 2 public hearings. So before we go to the expense of doing all the advertisements and going through the expense of, as well as the aggravation, but the expense of going through all the the hoops and all the process, we want to make sure council agrees. Yes, you're on the right track.
Right.
Good. Yep. And then the second question is, will they be subject? because I saw in that agreement that they won't be subject to anything other than like life and safety, building and fire code, anything that in the future for 25 years or whatever that we might establish. Are they going to be subject to the Bonita Beach Road corridor architecture stuff?
Bonita Beach Road corridor was adopted prior to this agreement, so
Yep.
yes, they are 100% required to follow that. We are going to be asking very similar things to have them have a uniformed and complementary architectural theme, so that preferably something that integrates into the historic river district area. We're going to be asking that a preliminary concept plan, because they are talking about an entertainment venue, is provided and attached to the agreement, so we can have we now have square footage. We didn't have it at the time of preparing the screen sheet. But we'll have more of a physical idea of what they want to do, because there's a lot of there's a lot of expansion and improvement of the clubhouse, but there's also additional restaurants and office spaces. And remember, this is a 30-year agreement, so I know that from the economic development and the absorption that we still have, we have some time. I think that was a little depressing during that part of it. But, you know, this is to figure out, because this is a gateway piece of property.
Yes, and I think, Mayor, the reason I'm asking this and kind of expounding on a little bit more, because we're going to have a referendum in November. I think people are interested to know what the issues are, what the pluses and minuses are, what's this agreement about. Maybe the newspapers are here, can write about it. What you just said, something about architecture and what that has to fit into, that they don't have to fear that we're going to get some glitzy Las Vegas style neon lights and flashing LEDs and, things.
Inside at the disco, I expect.
Well, I'm
Okay.
discos,
all right.
well, you can go to the disco. All that stuff, maybe as it may on the inside, but, people are concerned, have said to me, well, what about our downtown charm? We're going to have, I said, you know what? We've got a land development code. We've got a good community development department. We've got a good partner here. They've been here for 53 years. They'll continue to be a good partner. Don't worry about it. Forget about it.
Good.
Susan.
Good. Yes.
I knew we'd gotten an email from Councilman Ferreira, and I just wanted to make this public. He reminded everyone that originally they'd agreed to widen Old 41 south of the rear entrance during the construction, and I just wanted to make that public record from Councilman Ferreira.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's a good comment. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that Izzy's been a strong supporter of the city of Bonita Springs, and although he's offered graciously to provide security and all that, but I really I wouldn't want to hold him to anything tonight, but really would like you to look at that part of it with him seriously. Okay?
All right. Any other comments before we vote? Just one thing from me, and it's this. They've been our partners for a long time. They're going to be our partners for a long time. I think it behooves both of us to really look at this carefully, because we want this relationship to be good. We want it to be strong. We don't want there to be any confusion in the future. So even if we need to get a third party and say, hey, look, this is what we agreed to, what did we miss? That's
a good idea.
Let's do that. Let's do everything we can to make this a good document and to make it to where our relationship stays good, okay? Good. Okay, anything else before we go to roll call? Roll call.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Lockhart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slechta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
All right. Okay, Carl, do you have anything else for us tonight?
Yes, just a couple of more things. First off, speaking about the racetrack, we have been talking for a long time about economic development and really needing more jobs in Bonita Springs and for the residents of Bonita Springs. And in recognition of that, actually the Havnicks are going to hold a job fair on September the 13th. That's a Thursday. And that's going to be from 10:30 to 1 p.m. at the facilities, the Naples-Fort Myers Greyhound facility on Bonita Beach Road. This will be a job fair for Bonita Springs residents only. And bring your driver's licenses, bring your leases, whatever proof you have that you live in the city, and they will let you into this job fair and allow you to apply for a number of positions that the facility has coming open. Now, we need to be clear, and Izzy wanted to make sure that this was stated, that applicants who are successful will be subject to a thorough background check, and they are not allowed by state rules to have ever filed for bankruptcy. All right? But anyway, so it's September 13th from 10:30 to 1, Bonita Springs residents only, at the racetrack facility. And we appreciate that, and we're looking forward to new jobs for our residents. That'd be a great thing. The other thing is I want to thank our staff who worked through Isaac. We obviously had Isaac since the last council meeting. And we had our new Public Works Director, who I'll introduce in just a second here, so put him on notice. But Laura, John, myself, we were involved in this effort, and I will tell you that, Matt, why don't you come on up?
Yeah, Matt, you might want
Our new Public Works Director is Mr. Matt Feeney. Matt joined us on August the 20th. Isaac hit, and Matt ended up working 12 straight days in a row, so welcome to Bonita Springs, Matt.
and you did them all in the same week, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. No big deal. Matt's hometown is actually Fort Myers. He started on August the 20th, as I indicated. He graduated from Bishop Verreau High School. He attended and received a bachelor's degree from Notre Dame, and he also was a naval officer, where he received a significant amount of public works experience. He also received additional public works experience from working for the town of Fort Myers Beach some time ago. And so he's got some contacts going on at the county, which he was able to take advantage of because he was pretty much living at the county EOC during Isaac. But we want to welcome him. And Matt, you want to come up and say hi and people can see you?
Hello, I'm very excited to be here, and I look forward to working for Carl and John and working for all of you in the city of Bonita Springs. It was an action-packed week, but it's not anything I'm not used to. And I've really enjoyed working with everyone thus far, and look forward to working for you.
Good.
And welcome.
Welcome to Bonita Springs.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
All right, good. That was good. Mayor and council member items. Let's go ahead and start down there with Bill. Bill, what do you got for us tonight?
Okay.
I just got relaxed, huh?
Well, I attended the LPA workshop on the 21st, and it was quite a large crowd here. And I was disappointed in the fact that I learned that it wasn't televised. I don't know why, when, where, or how, but it wasn't televised. And I think from the standpoint that when I asked them, did you happen to catch the meeting last night, they said, well, it wasn't on TV. And I didn't even realize that I was in the back with the reporter. And so I'd like to have some explanation of I don't think it should happen anyway, but it did. And I was quite unhappy with that because the week before, when they did there was only 11 people here. We had 80 some odd people here, and they were speaking their minds because it was requested by the chairman. And I'd appreciate an answer.
Carl.
Sure, I'd be happy to answer. The first workshop was televised, but because of the workshop format, which was really breaking the group into smaller groups throughout the room to have discussions and then report back, there would be no audio because they weren't speaking into microphones. And so between the first and the second meeting, the decision was made not to televise the second meeting because there was every expectation that the format for the workshop was going to be the same. The group would be divided up into smaller groups. They'd have their discussions and then report back at the end. Again, people could see that something was going on TV, but you'd have no audio because they weren't using microphones. The format of the meeting, because of the crowd, the format of the second meeting changed at the meeting, at the decision of the chairman, and people were coming up having public comment and speaking into the microphone. We do have an audio of that meeting of people who spoke into the microphone and had comments, but because the format had significantly changed, we were not prepared to televise it that evening. That's why.
Okay. All right.
But let me ask you a question. If there are only 11 people that showed up, you wouldn't have broadcast it either? Are you telling? I thought all workshops were televised. As far as I've seen many of them over the years, and all of a sudden this one wasn't televised.
Well, if we made a mistake, sir, I'm sorry, and we won't do it again. How about that? I mean, I don't know. I mean, The decision was made because of the
Hey, please,
The decision
please.
was made because they would not be heard in the workshop session, broken out into small groups. It's not like people were coming up and it was public comment at the first meeting. So they were saying a lot of things in 4 different groups that would not be heard, even if if it was videotaped and it was advertised.
Why don't we do
And-
this? From now on, because of this situation,
Sure.
It doesn't take a whole lot to set people off
Mm-hmm.
on this thing.
Yep.
Why don't we be sure that the remainder of these are televised regardless of format?
That's fine.
That'd be fine? Okay?
Thank you, Ben.
Good, good. Yes,
I got one more thing.
Oh, yes.
Well,
let me let Steve interject and I'll come right back to you. Would that be all right? Go
I,
ahead.
I think you make a mistake by promising that you're going to televise everything, because we had a strategic planning workshop that wasn't even in City Hall. So I don't
That's
know how
a
you
different
would.
circumstance. It's not.
Well, it's a
City Hall.
different circumstance, but still a workshop. It's a public workshop.
No, what it was is in regards to the not St. Matthews, the homeless shelter
shelter.
item. When the LPA has those meetings, we'll televise
I-
all
I-
of those.
I understand that,
Okay.
but I thought the city manager may have obligated himself for all workshops, and I want to make
No.
sure that
My
that was
understanding was this topic.
okay.
This is top.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you very much, Steve, for the clarification. Go ahead,
I have
Bill.
one more thing. Carl, in reference to the BSU, I spoke with Mary before the meeting, and she indicated that they haven't had those meetings with the people that want to meet with them individually yet. And I did speak to Mary. She's back there, and I asked her when, and nobody's contacted anybody. So,
I'll follow up with Fred.
okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Bill. Martha, Councilman Simonson, what do you have for us today?
Thank you. Well, we had so many proclamations today. We didn't have one. It's Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th to October 15th, and we kind of missed that this year. So we have a rich tradition in the city for 70-something. Actually, one of our first settlers was Portuguese. I don't know if that's considered Hispanic, but a rich tradition of our Latino brothers and sisters living here, and go to their businesses, spend some money, celebrate the culture. Okay, legislative priorities. We haven't done that yet, and it's September already, and if we are going to have any local bills, they're going to need to know something by November. I think Carol Green wants to come in and give us a update, but I've been appointed to the Florida League of City as the vice chair of their statewide Energy and Environmental Quality Legislative Policy Committee. Basically, that means I get to monitor when the chair goes to the washroom. But if we want to get on the ball here, we need to get that racked up for pretty soon, because unlike last year, you know, they're going to have a different schedule this year. So, and we have new people, so we're going to need to cut and get in touch with them.
Carl, I think what we've done in the past, and Martha just help you out here a little bit, is that to go ahead and all the council persons go ahead and put things to Carl, to staff, cumulatively over the next week or so before the next meeting. And he can put together kind of a rough draft of a legislative agenda, and at that meeting, we can go ahead and hammer it out and get down to a few priorities. Would that be all right?
Well, and I'm kind of thinking maybe we need to hear from Carol as well at the same date, because maybe our priorities would change, because she'll say, hey, that's off the table now, or, you know,
And
we
you
don't
can
want
work with
to.
Carol as
So
you're
to-
putting this together, can't you?
Well, in addition to consolidating the list and bringing it back, we could ask Carol to attend the next meeting
Exactly.
as well.
What a
We'd be
beautiful
happy to
thing.
do that.
Okay.
Sure.
Good.
I really appreciate it, Mayor. Thank you, because time is of the essence. And I've neglected to tell you, Carl, but I did run into the governor and just ran into him at the league. Not like I don't run the guy down, but he was saying to somebody next to me, well, if there's anything I can do for your city, just let me know. I said, hello,
That's good.
Hey, you vetoed it twice, sir. I don't know if I'm going to get it past this new legislature again this year, so I'm really going to need your help for this flooding on Oak Creek and blah, blah, blah. He said, well, I do have my own budget. So we might, yes, he says he has his own budget that he might be able to squeeze this little number into, and I'm not quite sure that
What you need.
we've heard that before. What do we need? Well, we've asked for $250. So anyhow, we might try that little angle. Yeah.
I'm not
He
sure how to
sub-
take, I'm not sure how to take that.
Well, he submits something as well, like this is what he proposes, and then
Oh.
they all work for it,
I
right?
guess he's allowed.
So that might be another angle to catch him on before he, rules us. And then the last thing is, I do want to thank, for the many years, and I know we all want to thank Cullum Hasty, who tracked down every property owner of that 44 acres next to Bonita Nature Place and the Pine Lake Preserve. I think he went through 3 owners, maybe 4 owners, got them all to nominate it for various economic status of that property, and finally it got purchased. And it was in the newspaper today. It was I got a little update last week that it was going to happen, and this is the historic headwaters of our Imperial River, also the Jefferson Flowway. I was glad to see that they discussed in the paper that this is important and that they're going to be putting money into it. So I ask you, council and city manager, we've talked about this Jefferson Flowway for, well, before I was here, before Ben was here. Yeah, I think you guys were talking about it back then. But that we put a little grease to the wheel. DOT needs to do a little work there to open that back up, and that maybe Cullum and Carl and can work to get that done, or the mayor, whatever. I mean, and whoever here is Steve McIntosh, because y'all are on MPO, you get to talk to DOT people. So
We've already made initial, or had initial discussions, introduced the idea to FDOT. We do need to follow up with them on that. Yes.
yeah,
Okay, good. Anything else, Martha?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Matt Feeney once again to the city of Bonita Springs. Looking at him in the back row, I said, gosh, you look familiar. But I just figured, well, maybe he's just like some of those Irish Catholic guys I grew up in New England with. And come to find out, he went to Notre Dame, so I don't know if it was at any of the Notre Dame-Michigan football games. Matt, we might have to get to the bottom of that. And then come to find out, it sounds like he's heard of my brother-in-law. So 7 degrees of separation, but welcome, warm welcome. Glad to have you on board. Also wanted to mention that, I was joined since the last meeting, the YMCA. It's a beautiful facility for anybody that hasn't been out there. Please continue to support the Y. It's wonderful. I want to compliment Carl Schwing once again for his emergency meeting, for the just the way you handled that, Carl. I thought was exemplary. It was fantastic. Thank goodness it moved further west. I'm sorry, obviously, for the folks in New Orleans and Mississippi and Alabama on up through, but I just think that was wonderfully done, fantastic, and we were ready. I mean, had it come, we were curious. My family and I went down there, and sure enough, we were parked in the parking lot right next to docks, and had the Lee County Police say to me, "Pete, you have to leave." So we moved along, but we were curious as to what was going on down there. Also wanted to mention, I'm excited that also to be appointed. Thank you, Martha, for the prompting and the urging to be a member of the Growth Management and Economic Development Legislative Policy Committee. So there's for the Florida League of Cities. Looking forward to becoming active there. Wanted to give a special shout out for the one of the best friends in my life, my son, Peter Lyons Simmons, who 10 years ago and 12 hours ago was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And so I am here with you fine folks on my son's 10th birthday, but we celebrated last night. Honor roll student, very, very happy and proud of him. Had lunch with him today at the Bonita Springs Charter School. They set you off at a little table in the back with four others, friends. It was real special, and it was a wonderful day. And Petey, I love you very much. I'm very proud of you, son.
Happy birthday, Petey.
Happy birthday, Pete. All right, thank you very much. Steve, what do you got for us?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. You left out Suzanne. Of all the people,
and
you left out
Elizabeth.
your wife.
Well, it's not her birthday today.
I just want to mention.
But I love her too.
Hickory Boulevard. If you haven't driven down there, with the widening of the road, the sidewalk, and the crossing lights and all that, it's really getting to look beautiful. And I want to personally thank Mr. Steinmeier for keeping track of the things that are happening on Hickory Boulevard. You've done a wonderful job, and often we don't say thank you enough. So thank you very much for that.
All right, great.
September 11th is coming up,
Some
our
people
Patriots
need-
Day service at 9 o'clock at the Riverside Park, and I know Laura's got probably everything all set and planned to go. And my final thing is I got a call today at 4 o'clock from Best Buy, and I will bring this to the Veterans Advisory Committee, but I just sent my name in. Please contact me first. And what they're saying is when the vacancy comes up, they're going to give veterans preference for the job, regardless of the age. And so we thank them for that.
Bravo, Best Buy.
And that's it, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Janet, what do you have for us tonight?
Coastal cleanup. Shout out for that. Put it on the calendar, Saturday, September 15th. So it's a week from this Saturday, 8 o'clock down at Docks. And bring your gloves and we'll suit you up with bags and send you out on your way to help clean up the beach areas.
And the breakfast, too.
And oh yeah, it's a great event. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, good. Steve?
One thing, there was a question earlier about the relationship with Estero and Bonita Springs. I put in front of each of the council members and across the room and in the back for the public. This is the unofficial final organization for the ECCL, Estero Council Community Leaders, the face of unincorporated Lee County Estero. I put in the tentative names of the folks in those director jobs. These are still to be voted upon by the people at the ECCL and the Estero people, but it's been well vetted. This is a process that was nicely done, very professionally handled, and I'm very comfortable that our relationship with the ECCL will continue to be very positive.
Very good. Good work. I'm glad you keep working on that. Anything else for us?
No.
Just a couple of things here. I want to thank CH2M Mill for the great job they've done underneath the banyan tree. It looks fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I haven't said anything to you about it since then. Been a little busy here and there, but you guys did a great job, and I really appreciate it in the community. Thanks. Thank you so much. I got to tell you, there's been a lot of people tried to figure out what to do underneath that banyan tree. I mean, for the last 50 years, and you guys figured it out. It's perfect. Excellent. Thank you very much. Had an opportunity to speak at the Bear Leadership class. It was great. The Bonita Springs Estero area realtors, great group of people, really interested in what's going on in Bonita Springs. So I want to thank them for allowing me to go there every year. It was really interesting, some of the questions. I will share with them when you another time. But, and again, the coastal cleanup, I expect all of you council persons to be there this time. All right. Okay, never mind.
Son's football game, sorry.
I'm using
Otherwise,
my
I would be.
mayoral powers to make you not come
Might be the
there.
first year I can't come.
Anyway, it is a good time picking up garbage, as good as it gets, I got to tell you. And so, and it's a great place, beautiful beach. So thank you, everybody. And thanks to Carl, Laura, and staff for everything you did during the hurricane. Thank you so much. It was great. We do have, there's an opportunity to go. Carl and Arlene and I have been talking about, there's the Florida Redevelopment Association's annual conference. We're thinking about going, I'm thinking about going there, and I think Arlene's thinking about it, and we're trying to figure out if we need to get some buy-in from our Economic Development Council, if they need to be a member, or whether the city does, or if we just need to buy our way in there somehow. But we're trying to figure out how to make that work, because it's it's a great conference, and there's a lot to be learned there about CRAs and everything else. So I think it's going to be superb.
What's the date on that, Mayor?
I don't know. Don't know right offhand, but we'll send something out to everybody.
We'll pack the whole council up in a bus and take them up.
Weehaw! Yep, there you go. At $450 a head, eh?
No, cheaper, just time on the back of
Anyway.
a pickup.
And that's all I have. And so, would anybody like to approve the minutes?
I will.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
There is a correction in the minutes
Okay,
needed.
what would that be?
I did note to the clerk, she had me seconding myself, and I didn't, and Peter she's got it.
Okay,
But make a
good.
note.
Good.
Yeah, okay.
No more seconding. No, you can't second yourself.
You can,
I
but
don't know
didn't.
why.
I didn't. He
weird.
did. So.
Anyway,
You can make a motion and vote against it.
so the motion and a second with it as revised. That'd be okay?
Yeah.
I'll take that as a yes, since nobody said anything. Go ahead, roll call.
Councilwoman Simons.
Aye.
Councilman Longcart.
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh.
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin.
Aye.
Councilman Slakta.
Aye.
Mayor Nelson.
All right.
Councilman Simmons.
Aye.
Okay, one more time, public comment. Anyone wishing to speak this time, please come forward.
Okay, Rick Steinmeier, and since I was invited up here to speak about Hickory Boulevard, about a month ago, the neighbor lady, Dina Wisenowski, talked to me. She says, "Do you know we got spiraling white flies?" "I don't know." I says, "Well, you ought to check your trees, 'cause we had them treated at Bay Harbor Club." So, and I said, "Okay." So I checked the trees, and sure enough, we got white fly infestation. So I got a hold of, I got to talk to an arbiter friend of mine from church, and I came in for the tree board and talked to the guy here, and found out what the options are, and got a hold of Winston Church up in Kentucky or wherever he lives, our president of BBIA, and he got a hold of the county. And after the storm, and currently Davy Tree Service is treating 275 of our palm trees and foxtail trees that we planted on Hickory Boulevard. It may be a citywide problem, these spiraling white flies. There's about a quarter of an inch, and they fly in circles like crazy ants. I don't know if you know crazy ants, but so that project's going on. County's picking up the tab on that. Marco Island, I found out, was doing their 660 palm trees for a cost of $25,000, like $40 a tree. So I don't know what Lee County's paying. Davy's doing it. Currently, this started this week, Lee County's doing their annual trimming of the palm trees along Hickory Boulevard. They're trimming them real nice this year, so the coconuts and the palm fronds don't fall on you. So we're about ready for the tourists to start coming in. They'll be here.
They will.
Thank you now.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time? Please come forward.
I had a crazy aunt once.
Alberto Bayer, 3616 Macomb Lane. The website, it has an face format that is dysfunctional. So if a citizen inputs information as it's invited for the citizen to input, because you have become social, virtual, then why is there never feedback? Okay, so give it a try if you guys want to, and you'll be quite amazed. I think it merits your attention. Wasn't televised. I want to compliment the city manager for the, in my opinion, phenomenal manner in which he handled Bill Lockhart's question. He gave an explanation as to the rationale, which I completely agree with. Bill Lockhart doesn't meet my approval. But then what did he do? Admit it and made amends, short and brief. What characterizes our government? I ask you to ponder upon. Characteristics. What the human being is most lacking of is character, because we're born utmost characterless. The idea is, how do you build from being a person that has utmost sense of entitlement from the moment you're out of that womb, and evolve into a palatable, viable individual. I asked you guys, for example, today I heard sense of humor by somebody that gets paid for being here, as you all do too. There should be a sense of remarkable gratitude. I don't ever see that. I watch these televised things unless I'm here quite frequently. It would be wonderful if the government of our city would have a different characteristics than that which has characterized it since its inception, in my opinion. But it's time for us to look and see if we can adjust that. And hopefully you don't take my criticism any other way, but as my alma maters, I went to the toughest in this world. So they rake you over the coals with constructive criticism, and that has great impact. I'm not here to, put anybody down, I'm just here to tell you how I feel, and I hope that my little contribution will make an impact, because so far, I haven't seen that any of my input has ever impacted this city positively, or at least its government, other than the resignation of the former manager. And but this gentleman reminds me of Barb Buchanan, and that's phenomenal. She was incredible. Wish we had her working here still. And my minutes are up, so I'll wait for the next opportunity to complete my observations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else this time, please come forward. Seeing none, thank you very much, everyone, and this meeting's adjourned.